Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar around personal customer service today. We're going to cover a couple key topics about the challenges surrounding personalized service and how you can look to solve those. Before we get started, quick round of introductions. My name's Steve Gormley. I am a product specialist for our customer engagement suite here at Freshworks, and with me on the line is Pierce Buckley.
Hi, my name is Pierce Buckley from BABELFORCE, and I'm an expert in call center automation.
All right. So now that you know us, I would just like to cover a quick agenda of what we're going to cover for today, what you're going to see in this webinar. And the first thing that we're going to talk about is the need for personalized service, particularly why is it important, what challenges are coming, what is the effect of not offering personalized service, and how you can start to take a look at that. The second thing we're going to talk about is go through an actual customer scenario. So we've built a whole scenario which you can take a look at of how the differences between a non-personalized service and personalized service look. And then we're actually going to show that in our third point in the demonstration of how this automation and how these workflows work between our two products. And then we're just going to cover it up with a quick summary of the points discussed and a couple tips on how you can solve it. So we're going to start off with talking about why do you need personalized service? Why is this important in the first place? The story that we always like to tell is back in the day, people used to shop at local stores. They used to go there on a daily basis, regular basis. They would get to know the people who work there. The people who work there would get to know them. They would get to know their likes, dislikes, and they can build that really personal touch with these people. They get to really know them as human beings and offer that personal service. Now, in the modern world, we do a lot more shopping online. We talk to global brands who operate across the world. We purchase things from them. And what they have is they have rich customer data. And what they can do is that they can see who's buying what your purchase history is, and suggest options, give you choices that are tailored to your needs. And what we really need is to combine this. So at the end of the day, what you want is to be able to know who your customers are, know their history, know to a certain extent their likes, dislikes, and then offer them customized choices and offer them both types of things.
Yes, Steve, the research on this is pretty clear. Customers do not like being placed in a bucket where they feel like they're just like everybody else, that the business has no idea what they want, whether they've contacted them already, or how they should be dealt with.
So when we're talking about poor customer support here, the typical cases is that the person that a customer is talking to doesn't know who they are. They're unable to answer their questions quickly. This customer is being passed around different teams, different agents, different systems. And then if you look at it from the agent side, they don't know who this person is. They aren't able to handle complex problems. And what this causes is customer dissatisfaction. They don't get the service that they need in the time that is appropriate. Now that we understand what the problem is to offering personalized support and also some of the consequences to not offering personalized support, we need to talk about the challenges, really. Why does this problem occur in the first place? So one of the big things that we see are disconnected systems and ways of exchanging information. So if you have a CRM that's tracking your customer interactions, but then you also have a hotline which a customer can call, then you also have social media pages which they can reach out. How do you take all this information and put it and store it into a single location so that when that customer contacts you, you can instantly see, aha, I see Mr. Smith is calling me right now. These are some of the issues that you have. Building into that is this idea of a broken journey. So ideally, whenever you interact with a customer, the first, second, third, fourth step until that customer journey is finished should all be a seamless experience. So what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to access the context for the customer. You want to see what has happened in the past. You want to see what they've ordered, for example. And you want that all in a centralized location so they don't have to be passed around between different systems. And last but not least, there is this big issue of static interactions. So we don't want every single customer to be handled in the same exact way. We don't want a static standard procedure in which special customers don't feel like they're being treated special. So one of the last key problems that we find is static interactions. You don't want to treat special customers in a standardized, static way. You want to offer them the support that they think they deserve and that they need. You want to interact with your customers in a very seamless, personalized manner.
So the research on NPS, loyalty, customer satisfaction is pretty clear on this point. Customers really hate when an organization doesn't know what the context of their particular situation is. So what has happened last, what did they tell the organization, what did they tell the agent's colleague earlier. If they're interacting with a system, it's even worse if the system doesn't respond to the information that the customer has already provided. So we can't really put customers into just a fixed set of buckets. We need to be able to dynamically decide what to do with them. And that's a big challenge because of the things that Steve mentioned earlier with disconnected systems and broken journeys.
Yeah, the good news is that this is a big challenge, but there are solutions to this. So I think the best way to show it is actually take you through a couple of customer scenarios that we've built out. We have a before and after picture here. So before, this is the standard cookie cutter way of offering support. So let's say a customer calls to your support line. Your agents don't know who it is. They don't know what they're calling about. They have no information. If they have no information, they can't offer personalized support. They can't make dynamic decisions. They can't really do anything except for have the standard procedure. And that leads to all the problems and all the challenges that we mentioned earlier. What we want to focus on is this after scenario where we are driving our customer interaction through the data that we have on them. So we take the same exact scenario. A customer calls into our hotline, we're able to automatically recognize who they are. We see the context, so generally what they're calling about. And from there, we're able to make certain decisions. So we are, for example, able to see, is this a VIP customer? Is this someone who's putting tens of thousands of dollars into my business? Is this someone who prefers to be contacted in a different way? So maybe we automatically send them an SMS because we can't match them with the appropriate agent. So we're able to see that call and say, okay, who's calling? Based on the information we have, we're able to route them either to the appropriate agent. If that agent is not available, we're able to make other steps, whether that's sending an email, whether it's scheduling a callback, so on and so forth.
Okay, perfect. So in order to show this, we need to take a look at the building blocks for such a scenario. So the first step is to look at how do the systems interact with each other. So we're talking about calls and IVRs and things that happen in that channel and things that happen in other channels, and where's the central store of information. So on the bottom of this diagram is Freshdesk, and Steve's going to show us later some of the things that happen on the Freshdesk side of things. But the first step that happens between the calls and Freshdesk is that we do a lookup to get the contact information for the person who's calling, assuming that they're stored already, and then we get that contact information and we have it within the IVR session. Second thing we do is check to see if there are agents available who could match that contact. This means we're going to check in real time, do we have agents available with the right skills to deal with that particular customer based on the data we have so far? If we do, we can put the caller through to an agent immediately. And we might decide only to do that if the customer is a VIP customer. It depends on what kind of parameters you want to use and what your model is for doing support. If there are not agents available, or if the customer is not to be dealt with immediately by an agent, then we ask the caller for the reason that they're calling. For example, in our scenario, we're going to ask whether they've got a particular technical issue or whether it's a payment method issue. And in each case, we're then going to decide dynamically based on all the data that we have about the contact and what they've entered, what we should do with them. So if there are no agents available, we may send them an SMS. And then in this particular scenario, we're going to send an SMS with a self-help link that allows them to troubleshoot their technical issue. Or in the case of the payment method problem, the same thing, but a different specialized link to allow them to change their payment method. In the case where it's a VIP customer, but unfortunately we do not have the agent available to take the call from them, we're actually going to schedule a call back with them in real time. So that they know when they end the call, they get confirmation that there has been a callback scheduled, and that goes into a system where it's actually going to be done automatically in the background. Each of these steps is going to update, and you see the arrows going down. The bottom swim lane is going to update everything inside the Freshdesk, and then Freshdesk can build automations on the other side downstream from what happens in the call.
Excellent. Then on that note, we're going to switch over to the demo.
So first thing, we have to get the information about the contact. So what's going to happen is at the beginning of the call, whenever there's an inbound call, we're going to look up the contact within Freshdesk, and it works like this. You basically set up a pre-built lookup end user, and it retrieves the contact information. And if there is no contact available, it's going to create a new contact. So that's just for the scenario where this is a first-time caller, for example. So that's the first thing that happens. The second thing that happens, and that's digging more into the IVR side of things, at the beginning of the call, we're going to set the language for the caller. And beyond that, and this is where it gets more interesting with finding out whether we really have somebody available to deal with that caller. So here we have a decision-making node. The key thing is we're doing a check in real time whether there are agents available in the particular queue, and this means checking to see if they have the right skills, the right attributes to deal with that caller right now or not. So you know this in advance in the first seconds of the call immediately based on the data that you have so far. The second thing that happens is if there are no agents available, or if the caller is not to be dealt with immediately, for example, they don't have the right status, they're not a VIP customer or whatever the case may be, then in this particular case, we're going to ask the caller to select two options. One option is determining the technical problem that they have, whether they have a technical problem. And the second is whether they have a payment method problem. And in each case, it goes down the particular route. Now, let's take the example of the technical issue. So what happens then is we play audio within the customer journey saying, actually, you can deal with that problem yourself. If you'd like to do that, then choose the appropriate option. And then automatically, we're going to send an SMS with the link. So the setup of that is pretty simple. We're choosing on the BABELFORCE side to use the send SMS action. And the send SMS action is going to send to the caller's number. This is automatically populated with the caller's number. And we're checking here in the background also whether that's a mobile number and so on before we offer this option. So it obviously only makes sense to send an SMS if it's a mobile number. So you set up the SMS message in whatever way you like, whatever with content. You can build the links dynamically. In this case, I've got a static link. I know that form 77 is the correct one for this particular e-commerce scenario to troubleshoot this problem. Okay, so then what's going to happen is the caller is going to get that SMS and they can go and figure out how to solve the problem themselves. In the other scenario where the caller has selected that they've got a problem with their payment method, then we're going to play the appropriate audio within the call experience. But more importantly, we're also going to send them the automated SMS. And in this case, we're going to say that you can find the information on how to reset your account payment method here, and it goes to the particular URL for that purpose. Okay. Secondly, we're also going to update Freshdesk in the ticket by adding a note to the ticket with the information that's necessary on that particular track. So then you can add as many actions as you like here. So it's as versatile as you need it to be. So you can write whatever information that you like, and you've got a record of it in the tickets. And Steve will show us later some of the information that lands in the tickets for the calls and the SMS. The final part of the scenario is where we're going to either offer the caller an agent now because we determined that they actually are available, in which case they would go through to the queue, or we're going to offer a phone callback, which is this particular one here. So if it goes to the phone callback situation, then we're going to say, sorry, we can't deal with your query now, but we can call you back so that you don't have to wait. And here, quite a few things happen on the basis of that particular flow. So first of all, we're going to send the confirmation SMS. Now, this is really nice from a customer experience point of view. It doesn't contain a link or anything like that. It just says, you know, we've told you we're going to call you back, and now we're confirming that we've actually done that. So a few seconds later, they're going to get a nice SMS on their phone. We're going to create a transaction that saves that there's actually been this thing happen so that we can look it up later on. That's for reporting. And we're also going to add a note to the ticket about this particular interaction. And finally, and this is how the actual callback happens, we're going to use BABELFORCE's action to automatically schedule callbacks by adding that callback request to a particular list. So you have a particular list ID here. That's one that you create on the platform already. And then that list is specifically for dealing with these VIP callbacks. You might have other lists for other purposes. And this means you don't have to worry about it. It's going to, at the appropriate time, as soon as an agent is available or whatever settings you make for that particular process, it's just going to happen. Right? So you can keep your promise to the customer. Okay, that's the whole scenario. I'll switch over so Steve can show us what it looks like for the self-help scenario with SMS and what happens then downstream on the Freshdesk ticketing side.
Yeah, thank you for that, Pierce. So what we're going to do right now is run through a pretty basic and common scenario using all those BABELFORCE automations that we just set up. So all we're going to do is we're going to call into a central support line from an e-commerce shop. We're going to walk through the IVR process and see what happens, especially when we get that SMS. What's going to happen is that they're going to go through the IVR process. They're going to do whatever automations that you set up. So basically, the split second that call is made, the automations kick off and the appropriate actions are started. So what we have in this case is that the customer has a technical issue. So they have the number for AvaShop. What they're going to do is they are going to call into AvaShop. So they've hung up the phone. They said, oh, technical issue. They had a recorded message saying you're going to receive a link to a form. We need you to fill out this form, and then we'll start a process from there. So they hang up, and they go in, and they see all of the messages that they have. So they can click directly on this link and say, this is a link to Form 77, the best way to solve that problem. So at the end of the day, what we would have, customer calls in looking to get the problem solved. The automations are triggered, sending them down the correct path. And then based on the rules that we've set up, their problem is solved instantly by sending them a link to the appropriate form on their mobile. What's also important too is to take a look at it from the perspective of your own internal help desk and also from the way of your agents. So what we're looking at right now is the actual help desk interface. This is the actual Freshdesk interface. So what we have here is a record of this customer interaction, so that we know if that customer interacts with us again, maybe this will have some context. We can use this to build more information about that customer. We can use this to optimize our automation, so on and so forth. So what we see here is the contact we've had with the customer. And at the end of the day, we see the message that an SMS was sent to this particular number from IVR. What we've also done is that since this customer's phone number is on record, we've recognized who they are. In this case, it's George Kittle. So we say, okay, this number is associated with this person. I know that George Kittle actually called us. I know he called us about a technical issue, and I know an SMS was sent with the appropriate form so that George can solve his technical problem. In addition to that, what we've done is that we've actually closed this ticket. So we said, okay, we interact with a customer, we solve that customer's problem, we're going to set that as resolved so we can have some reporting metrics and we can take a look back at our own help desk. We've also given it a priority based on various information that we've set. You can take a look here at all the various things that we've done. So we can see that George Kittle, a new ticket was created, we've added some tags, we've set the priority, and we've executed some automations. So the automation that I have from the Freshdesk side is to close tickets that were answered via SMS automatically. So without any sort of agent interaction, we're able to solve this customer's problem. In addition to that, what we can do is, let's say that George calls again about another issue. I, as an agent, can take a look at George's profile and I can see, oh, he's actually called a couple times and he's had a couple of problems solved with SMS. He also has an open ticket regarding shipping status that maybe he's calling about. I have context, I have information that I can use to instantly assist this customer, including for things such as what language does he speak? Is George a VIP customer? What is his address? So on and so forth. So at the end of the day, we have a record of all of our customer interactions that we can report on, that we can use to better our automations. And then what we also have is we're building a context, we're building the customer history so that we can see if the customer has a secondary problem or reopens a ticket, we can solve that quickly and easily. Through the scenario and the demo that we just outlined, what we want to talk about is really the benefits of delivering that personalized support and what really you need to focus on. So what we want to focus on is drive that omni-channel engagement. What do we mean by that? We want to open up as many contact channels to your customers as possible so that a customer can use their preferred method to contacting you, getting their query solved, and interacting with you in the preferred method. So they feel that at any point in time, they can use their method to contact them in a personalized way. In addition to that, we want to focus on moments of truth. So when the customer calls, when the customer contacts, they don't feel like they've been categorized already. They know that the context, the issue that they're dealing with before is known by the person dealing with them, is known by the agent, so they can immediately solve their issue and say, wow, this is really a proactive support for the customer issues that I have. And last but not least, we want to use that customer data. So we want to use that customer data to optimize our automations, to send that customer an SMS, to build these forms, to build this different ways of interacting with the customer's data so that they felt that they're giving personalized service, so that they feel like they're known to the people they're interacting with. But one thing that we also do want to focus on too is not just the customer side, is the agent side, because it's great to have these lofty goals of delivering personalized service, but if it's not easy, if it's not something that your agents can do without a lot of effort, it's never going to get done. So we want to focus on some of those tools to make your agents' life a lot easier. So we want to have that automatic recognition of who's calling us, who's contacting us. We can give that real-time feedback to customers. We want to send that information to our agents. So when the agent picks up the phone, they know who's calling them. They see less tickets. They see all the different contacts, all the different problems that they have. Not only do we want to focus on singular customer interactions, but we want to gather a whole history of all the customers who interact with us at a certain point in time, so that we can understand customer trends and patterns, who is contacting us generally and why. And what we can do is we can take that information and then we can optimize everything that we're working on. So whether that is building new call flows, whether that is adding more options in IVR, whether that is proactively reaching out to customers, we want to do that so we can improve the efficiency of our help desk without adding extra work to our support agents. And last but not least, we want to gather all that customer information so that we can give it directly to an agent who becomes the owner, who becomes the central contact person for that, and so that they have all the tools necessary to solve their issues. So just a quick note, this is not purely just a customer calls and gets an SMS. This is a whole different way of interacting with customers. So we really want to focus on a platform-based solution where you say your customers have the ability to get their problem solved by SMS. They have the ability to get their problem solved by email. They also have self-help features such as knowledge management, interaction with other things, and reporting, so on and so forth.
Thanks, Steve. And from our side, on the BABELFORCE side, and the way we work with Freshdesk, our aim is essentially in the form of a promise to call centers and contact center professionals. We try to make it possible for you to basically build your ideal flow, whatever you draw on the whiteboard as the kind of wish state that you have for your processes. We want to make it possible for you to build all of that without any code. And the way we do that, particularly with Freshdesk, is we expose all of the events that happen in IVR, in calls, in messaging, not just SMS, actually, in email, also in Messenger or in other forms of chat messaging. Whatever happens in the interactions in the call center and the contact center, we reveal that, and also everything that happens within IVR flows, decision-making processes, and allow you to push using actions like we saw earlier directly to Freshdesk all the information that you want. But we also make it possible for you to pull information from Freshdesk into the real lifetime sessions and then use that to make more dynamic decisions. Now, it's not just one integration, so you can also use this in an enterprise call center environment with other CRMs, other DBs, third-party systems, together with your call center stack. For example, you might need to integrate your own telephony, your own telecoms. We try to make all of that possible for you, and particularly to give you that single store of information then within Freshdesk as the end of that process, which allows you to achieve all of the omni-channel and data-driven aims that Steve mentioned earlier. So when you're building this, as I think you might have seen from the demo, it's mainly about giving you Lego blocks that you can play with and basically build whatever process that you want.
So just a couple points to wrap up today. What we really want to focus on is personalized service is critical to deliver high quality customer support. You're not going to get amazing customer support without things like information on the customer, a personalized approach to how they want to be dealt with, different things that you can reach out to them in a personalized and personal manner. That is really critical to making sure that your customers walk away from every interaction with you 100% satisfied. The challenges behind this are the plethora of disconnected systems, broken customer journeys where they're handed back and forth between agents and systems, and static interactions where customers are handled in the same exact cookie cutter and standardized manner, despite the myriad of problems, despite the differences in problems they might approach you with. So what we want to really focus on is we want to use your existing customer information to build flexible and custom workflows so that, again, you can deliver this customer support. So as we saw in our use case, we were instantly able to recognize who was calling. They were able to tell us what they were calling about in just a couple of seconds without interacting with an agent. And then we were automatically able to send them a form to completely solve their issue. And we want to be able to do that for every single customer interaction. So on that note, thank you very much, everyone, for your time today. Again, I'm Steve Gormley from Freshworks.
And I'm Pierce Buckley from BABELFORCE. If you want to dig deeper into this topic, you can find all the resources related to this presentation on the landing page.
If there's any questions, reach out, and thanks again.